Hey everybody, I'm Greg.
And I'm Katie. Welcome to the Meeple Society.
And welcome to the after party from the Dice Tower West.
Actually ended like...
Man, I was looking to get dancing, you know.
Oh, you're weird. Whatever. Today we are going to do a quick wrap-up of our week at Dice Tower West. We actually spent a full week in Vegas.
Yep.
7 days from check-in to check-out.
She kept me captive.
It was not hard. You were... Yeah, whatever. Anyhow, this was our first year at Dice Tower West. We've done the Dice Tower Retreat. We have done the Dice Tower Retreat a couple of times now, and enjoyed it enough that we thought we wanted to try one of the others.
Mm-hmm.
Dice Tower West worked out perfectly because it's exactly 6 months from the retreat. So it, you know.
And your mom lives in Phoenix.
Right.
So
right.
I can do my mother-in-law do list.
Yes. She does have a list every time we go. All right, so the con. We're going to start off with our overall impressions of the con, and kind of go from there. Now, we arrived in a day early. We arrived in on Monday and ended up spending all day Tuesday up at Death Valley National Park. That was really fun. Very interesting park. Very different than what we expected.
Yeah, we expected flat lands with a cactus growing out of them.
That is not what we saw.
No.
So, very interesting park. If you're ever out that direction, maybe next year for Dice Tower West, it's about a 2-hour drive from Vegas, 2.5 hour drive. Beautiful area, that's for sure. So anyway, enough of that. On to the con.
Mm-hmm.
So, con started on Tuesday. Well, technically Wednesday. Tuesday was registration.
And open gaming.
And open gaming.
If you brought games. You couldn't get to the library.
Right, which we did, but we decided to go ahead and just go back up to our room, and we had a few small games we could play. Our room came with a table in it, so we had to take advantage of this, because not many hotel rooms do, as if you've ever traveled, I'm sure you know. So we took advantage of our table.
We're not home.
No.
We're in a hotel.
Actually, yes, that
not in Vegas.
Let's start there.
I escaped.
We are recording on Wednesday, March 15th. I had to stop and think about the date.
It's been a week since the con started.
It has been a full week since the con started.
It's taken us that long to get over it. Whew.
You are in rare form tonight.
And apparently it's night.
Oh,
not
my
morning.
goodness. Okay, so we are in Albuquerque on our way home from my mom's. When we decided we got in early enough that we could get this taken care of before we get all the way home. So, that being said, let's talk about the con. All right, so we had, I admit, we had a great time. There were some pros and some cons. I will agree, as with any con.
It's a con.
This is going to be a nightmare to edit. I can see that already. Okay. All right, so the Dice Tower West is held at the Rio in Vegas, a couple blocks off the Strip, over the bridge.
It's on the other side of the interstate.
Now, just to be transparent, we have never been to Vegas. I spent 8 years as a travel agent and never made it. So this was our first trip to Vegas. We are not the kind of city as a whole.
We're not big gamblers.
We're not gamblers
she gambled
at all.
when she married me, but. Okay, so the con. Oh, look at that.
Look at that, my notes.
The con.
Okay, so
first on the list is free parking.
Yes, I liked the fact there was free parking because we do drive to these types of things. So that was a big bonus for us. I loved the room was very large. I thought it was very nice. I know I heard complaints from other people about the rooms, from a couple people, but I thought it was very nice. The convention space was great. I thought it was aptly sized. Nothing felt overly crowded. We never had trouble finding a table anywhere. Heck, we never had trouble finding people to play with.
Nope.
To me, this felt like just a large-scale version of the retreat.
Yes, it did.
Lots of open gaming, lots of friendly people, huge library. This library has a total of 6,500 games in it. So the library is enormous. So tons and tons of choices. There was never any time where we couldn't find something we wanted to play. Let's put it that way.
Unless you tried to use the website.
That was a con.
Dice
Tower East's collection is all in a book. And I get those books, they have to be manually updated. So I get that that's kind of a pain in the rump, especially when you're talking triple the amount of games. I get that. So they give you a link to a website where they have their entire collection listed, all 6,500 plus games listed.
And what shelf they're on.
What shelf they're on, and some other information. I'll be honest, I didn't look at it because he was getting so frustrated with it because there was no search feature, at least not one we could find.
Yeah, you basically had to scroll.
Yeah, we ended up having to go up and ask for the game we were looking for just to find out where it was on the shelf. And then there was the dealer hall. Again, we'd only ever been to Gen Con before. We've been to Origins in terms of just the dealer hall. But we're used to the Gen Con dealer hall. So this one was much smaller, which I wasn't sure I was going to like, but I did.
There was a lot there.
There was actually a huge variety. A lot of the smaller publishers. A lot of other
There was a couple
stuff.
I think they were game stores.
I think there was a couple of just straight up game stores. There was 40 some odd dealers, if I remember correctly, vendors in
Something
the
like
dealer
that.
hall. But it was a small area, but it was easy to manage. Lots of great things, like Rotto's wife, Jen Ham and her Gamer Glass. That's the name of the company. Gamer Glass was there. Beautiful work. Oh my gosh. I thought her work was pretty on camera. It is gorgeous in person. There was that. There was some t-shirt places. There was lots of great vendors. We must have walked through it 3 or 4 times.
And a lot of the designers were actually there.
They were. Because we had the designer. What was the name of that company?
We went to Everything Epic and learned. You wanted to learn Librarians, which we were kind of.
We're on the fence on that one.
But he also taught
taught
us Agents of Smersh, and we actually bought his second to last copy of the gold box, the all-in box from Kickstarter. So
I'm looking forward to digging into that one.
He made it extremely fun. He designed it, and he actually was making fun of the off names from James Bond. Walking through the casino.
Okay, so that was the biggest con for me. And again, I didn't mind the walk. It was about maybe a 5-minute walk from our room all the way down to the convention area. I'm not opposed to that. We're used to Gen Con. How could I be opposed to a 5-minute walk? What I was opposed to is the fact that even though I specifically requested from the Rio, and this is no fault of the retreats, but I specifically the con. Sorry, yeah, I'm probably gonna keep doing that.
Don't worry, I'm here.
No fault of the con, even though I specifically asked to be in the tower closest to the convention area. The desk clerk, and I quote, said, "Oh, they're all close. It's fine." And then proceeded to put us in the farthest one possible. Well, there's only 2 towers. She put us in the far one. So we had to walk through the casino every day, and I have a sensitivity to cigarette smoke. So, it is what it is.
I can't smell a thing.
That was, you can't ever smell anything. But that was my biggest aversion to the convention, was that having to walk through the casino to get anywhere, to get back to our room, to get to the convention, to get anywhere. To get to our car, we had to walk through the casino. That was my biggest issue. So, but other than that, convention was great. That was really my only negative. That was the only thing I couldn't avoid. So, people we met there. We met a lot of people, and we'll talk about them as we talk about the games. The two I want to mention in advance is Matt. You will hear Matt's name a lot. We met him on, second or third day? First day. But he sat down to play with us, and we proceeded to play probably about 90% of the games the rest of the con.
We pretty much hung out the rest of the con.
We did. Matt is from the Phoenix area, which we found out after the fact, so that's kind of cool. He lives in the same, across town, but in the same city as my mother. So we met him, and like I said, we'll talk about all the others as we get to them, and you'll hear more about Matt. And then we met Elaine. On Saturday morning, we were walking through the flea market. There was an in-person flea market, and we're walking through the flea market, and suddenly I hear somebody say, "Hey, I recognize you." And I looked around. I was looking at this lady's table at the time, what she had open.
I thought I got all the wanted posters down.
You are whatever. Anyway, so and I look back and she says, "Oh, you don't know me, but I know you." She's a follower here on our channel. And she was telling us about how happy she was to watch our stuff. And Elaine, if you're watching this, and I'm sure you are, I hope you are, thank you. You made our day. Now let's get into the games. Now we played a total of 21 different games, a few of them separate times. I feel like that's not a lot for a 5-day convention.
No,
but we didn't play anything on Sunday.
We slept in a little bit and we went to bed early.
We did. But some of them we played multiple times.
Yes.
But before we start talking about the 14 that were new to us, we're going to cover the 3 that we played that were not new to us. The things that we already own, but we played anyway. And we'll explain why. All right, so the first one we did was Planet Unknown. Planet Unknown was in the Hot Games room. We spent a lot of our time in the Hot Games room. And there were 2 gentlemen sitting there that were reading through the rule book, and it's one of my favorite games. So I offered to teach it to them, and they asked us to sit down and join them, so we did. We played the base side because they were just learning, but we're going to call these guys John 1 and John 2. As you will notice, there is a pattern here. We played with a lot of Johns, so I started having to number them.
Maybe it was their alias.
Anyway, so Planet Unknown is a polyomino game where you are exploring a planet and placing out, you're basically, well, I don't want to say terraforming it, but that's basically what you're doing with polyomino shapes. And meanwhile, you're also going up the corporation boards depending on what type of terrains you're putting out onto your planet. We've done a rules breakdown and playthrough video on it. We've also talked about it on a couple of podcasts. I'm not going to go into it extensively. This is still one of my favorites, and I did truly enjoy teaching them. I thought it was a very good game. This is one of the Johns won. I came in last. I don't know how that happened.
The sign of a good teacher is if you get beat.
Well, I evidently taught it very well. I taught it very, very well because I lost pretty horribly. And actually, I know exactly what my mistake was, but that's beside the point. So, great game. I still want to explore this one some more, even though we've played a lot of it, because of the diversity in the flip sides of the boards. All the asymmetrical planets and the asymmetrical corporations change up the game drastically, and I don't feel like we've played a lot of
the other side, but not enough of them to know all of them.
And I find that every time we play this game recently, we're teaching it, so we're playing on the base side. I almost feel like you and I maybe keep the corporations the same, so the victory points are the same, but you and I need to flip our planets over to make it harder on ourselves or something. Although evidently I didn't need it in this one. But anyway, that was Planet Unknown. Super fun game with both John and John. Second one we played that was not new to us was actually Cat in the Box. We played that on Friday evening with, let me look, because now I don't remember their names. Well, yes, Matt was there with us, and Matt had
There's a 50-50 shot there was a John, but I don't think there was.
There was actually, yes. No, never mind. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one.
Was that right? Kent,
And John.
No, John 5. Johnny 5.
Short synopsis.
Trick-taking game with no Trump on the cards.
Yeah, there's no suits on the cards. There is
suits,
5 of each number, numbered 1 to 9. But there's 5 of them, but there's only 4 suits in the game. You determine the suit as you're laying your card down. So you're saying this is a 5 of green, or I don't have any more greens. So you're claiming you don't have greens, but later on, if only the 5 of green is left, and that's all you have left in your hand, you're now declaring that you've what's the word for it? Paradox. You've created a paradox, and the game is over.
Yep.
That round is over. Let me rephrase that.
Which we did a lot in that game.
I think
almost every round. I think the first couple rounds we did not.
Every round ended in paradox. Every one. We don't play this 5-player very often. I think this is one of the very few 5-player games we've played. So, super fun game. Had a great time with Matt, Kent, and John. Last game we played, not new to us, was Tzolk'in. Tzolk'in is...
We had played once or twice.
We've owned it for a long time.
Yep.
And Matt wanted to learn it. He wanted to see if he was interested in picking it up.
So basically, the 3 of us relearned.
So yeah, we picked it up thinking, oh yeah, we can teach you this, no problem. I remember this game. We relearned it all together.
But it came pretty quickly. We picked it back up. Once you learn the icons and it.
Yeah.
The
once you figure out the little bits of it, but. This is a game where and I'm sure you've probably seen it if you don't know what it is, there's a central gear that operates 4 other gears around it. And every turn you're either putting pieces on or taking pieces off one of those 4 outer gears in order to do actions. So there's a lot more to it than that, but that's the basic, you're gaining victory points, you're going up the god tracks, that type of thing. So super fun game. Now, on to the 14.
Yep. We kind of ranked them from the bottom to the top being the one we liked the most.
Yes, of the
14. But by all means,
every one of these
games, we loved every one of these games.
This was a really, really hard list to make.
Yep.
Even though we were only working with 14 games, really hard list to make.
We liked every one of the games, and we wanted to play. We came there looking to play almost every one of these.
Honestly,
a couple of them were surprises.
There's 2 of them I did not know about going in that I had never heard of. That was it. The rest of them I had heard of in some fashion.
Let me see if I can figure it out.
Okay. He's looking at my list.
This one?
That was one.
And
the other one should be
this
easy.
one.
Okay,
no, it's
3.
that one.
Yeah, there's 3 because I had not heard of that one either.
Hey.
Okay. So let's start off with number 14. Number 14 for us was My Shelfie. This is one I had heard of a long time ago, and I always was very intrigued by it. I had never actually seen a physical copy of it, though, and it was out for demo on one of the demo tables outside of the dealer hall. And so we sat down and played it. I mean, there was 2 other people playing with us, 1 other person playing with us.
1 person.
It was, I think it was actually another John. I really do think it was another John. It was John 4.
John number 4.
Okay, so this is one that you're basically sliding tiles in, very similar to Connect 4. It was actually, we had multiple people ask us as they walked by if it was Connect 4. You're sliding tiles in from the top to build your shelves to meet certain goals. There are public goals out, and then you have private goals to meet as well. So you're trying to get all of this to fit into a 5x5 shelf.
Which you can pick up to 3
You can pick up
tiles
to 3.
that are in a row.
Right, all the tiles are laid out on the board.
Yeah, and they all have to go in the same column on your shelf. So.
Yes, all the tiles are laid out on the board, and you can pick any 3 that are completely exposed. Well, not completely, that one side is exposed, kind of like Mahjong style. You can't pull something out of the middle that doesn't have an edge exposed. So you can pull any up to 3. You may not always want to pull 3, but you can pull up to 3 off the edge and put them in, like you said, a single file line into your shelf somewhere. So, I mean, it was interesting. It was very cute, decent components. The 5x5 grid was nice, heavy plastic. But in the end, this, to me, felt like just a fancy Connect 4. just a little heavy. Obviously, very much heavier than Connect 4. But
I'm glad we played it.
I am very glad we played it. It is not one we're going to pick up. I just don't. I think it's a little too light for us. All right, number 13 is Flamecraft.
This is one originally we thought about backing.
We did. We almost backed this one. I've heard great things about it. I've also heard, and actually, I'll tell you to be honest, the only negative things I've ever heard about it was that the artwork
made it look like a kid's game. Yes.
This is one that let's see, let me find it real quick.
We played with John number 6.
Yeah, we played
with John. This was Saturday, I believe, wasn't it?
It was John, Sarah, and Matt.
Yep.
Yes, I think it was Saturday. Yes, right there. John, Sarah, and Matt. And John squeaked out a victory ahead of me. Barely. Shame on you, John. Anyway. All right, so this is one I did enjoy it. This is one I had wanted to play. I went into the con wanting to get this one played just because I wanted to see what it was like.
You wanted to see if it was worth picking up.
Correct.
If it was worth the hype.
Correct.
So was it?
I did like it. But again, it was more simplistic than I wanted it to be. You've got a central board with different areas around the city to place shops. And you start out with 6 shops already out. At least the base game does. More advanced, that may change. I don't know. We only played the base game. So you start off with 6 beginner shops around the board. Each shop takes up to 3 dragons. As a shop fills up with dragon cards, which you are placing out on your turn. So you are filling them up as you go. But as each one fills up, then you put out a new shop. You can, instead of placing a dragon, you can place an enchantment on a shop. You're gaining resources by going to the shop because there's different icons, different resource icons all over the place. The game came with a ton of shop cards. I mean, we didn't even put a dent in them. But they all seem to do very similar things. There were only so many resources, so every shop offered one of them. Every shop had some sort of a power on it, but everyone we pulled were pretty similar.
Yeah, the last two though.
The last two were kind of weird.
Had a little bit of weirdness going on.
They were a little weird. We had to really decipher what they meant by it. But the dragons, albeit very cute, there was only like 5 varieties, and they all did the exact same.
The same.
There was only 5 varieties of cards.
The same type of dragon
did the same thing. The whole thing, each color. So I enjoyed it. It was cute. I love the artwork. Despite the fact it looks very childlike, I did like the artwork. It was very stylized, cartoonish. I'm not sure exactly how to word that, but at the same time, I'm glad I played it, but I don't think I need to explore it any further. I think again, it's a little too light for me. There's not enough depth there for me to dig into. All right, so number 12 was actually one of my surprises because I had never heard of this game.
This is one Matt
introduced us to. Yeah,
introduced us to. You had seen it beforehand.
I had seen somebody walking through the library with it, and the box was just an explosion of color. So it grabbed my attention fairly quickly. But I didn't know what it was or how it played or anything. I guess Matt had already played it once. So he introduced us to it on Friday afternoon. The idea with this one is to find balance and harmony in your home. You've got home tiles. It's an action selection type of game. You've got 4 different colors of bamboo, and the bamboo pieces have icons on them that tell you, if you choose that section of bamboo, that tells you what your actions are going to be. You're using the bamboo to determine your actions, but in order to determine how many actions you can do, you're using your incense sticks to influence different god tiles, spirit tiles. Yeah. The number of incense you're able to play determines how many actions you can take. You're gathering home tiles into your home, but the key to the whole game and the way that you win is to balance your home. Each one of the tiles has what they call comfort points on it, and the goal is to get both sides of your house completely balanced. If you have 3 comfort points here, you need 3 comfort points over here to balance it. So in the end, by the end of the game, this has to be balanced or you lose points. So it was very intriguing. I did enjoy it a lot. But that being said, again, it was a very light game.
Yep.
I'm not sure if we're going to pick this one up. It's probably going to depend if we can find it. But very interesting set collection. There was a tad of area majority because if you had more incense on a specific spirit, you got that spirit at the end of the round.
Which gave you an action per round.
That spirit gave you extra abilities at the end of the round. So it was interesting. So, yeah. That was our number 12. And again, one of my 3 surprises, that was bamboo.
So, number 11 was Bot Factory. This is one that I've been kind of intrigued about to see how.
Yeah,
it's a Lacerda game that basically took the mechanisms from the
Kanban EV,
the factory part of Kanban EV.
Yeah,
and it also had what does that mean, lady's name? Sandra. But Sandra was extremely nice.
She was very nice.
She was very helpful. Actually,
she actually was helpful. She refreshed a lot instead of taking things away.
Bot Factory, you're actually building robots.
You're building toy robots. It's actually working in a toy factory.
There you go.
And I guess the idea behind it.
So are elves?
Oh my God. The idea behind it is that this toy company was so impressed with the way Kanban did their production that they wanted to mirror or to copy that production system.
Right.
So Sandra was sent over to help oversee the transition and to get them up and running. That's the long and short of the theme behind the game. So what we liked, this is with just the two of us this was Thursday afternoon.
There was no Johns to be found.
No John. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the one thing we didn't like about it, well, and I don't want to say I didn't like it, but there's a way when you're going up to build your robots, you need 3 pieces to build your robot. Your feet, your body, your head. Makes sense, right? Well, each turn you can only do 2 actions, if I remember correctly, or you could bid for how many actions you're going to do. That's right. It's all based on where you place. At one point,
you could put 2 pieces up there, not finish your robot.
And the next time you have to move. You cannot stay in the same department.
Right.
Somebody else comes in, finishes your robot, and takes
and then they get it to score.
I mean,
goals.
It happened to me once. I don't think it ever happened to you. It did happen to me once.
Yes, I did it to you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, nobody else was playing, so you had to have been the one that did it to me. But anyway, and I feel like that's an integral part of the game. You start a robot and somebody else finishes it. It should be an integral part of the game. And it really wasn't for us with just 2 players. I feel like it would probably play better at more.
Yeah.
So we do have friends that have this, so I don't want to pick it up on our own. We really enjoy the complexity of Kanban EV. I don't think
plays
I
up
need
to
a
4.
lighter version. Yeah, it plays up to 4.
So I think at a full player count, it would make it even harder to do things because Sandra moving around is going to take a slot each time in a different spot.
Area.
So
well, and the only big difference between 2-player and more is that in 2-player you can't go to the department Sandra's in.
Right.
Whereas in more players you can.
Yes.
So, but I'm sure that will make a difference because she did block us a couple times and we just simply couldn't go where we needed. So interesting, great components, as I would expect from any Lacerda game. But I definitely want to explore this one more. I don't feel the need to buy it though, for sure. Like I said, especially since we have friends who own it. So. All right, number 10. This was the other one I had never heard of, which I have now seen in I cannot count how many stores since we left the convention. It's in every store since we left the convention. That is Mille Fiori. We both felt, when we were talking about this one, we both felt that it was
airy.
It was very airy, very light.
I think the coloring had something to do with that.
The coloring was beautiful. It was very colorful. It has, I felt like some newer concepts, but at the same time, those concepts felt really familiar. And neither one of us could quite place why it felt so familiar. We played this one before I go any further. We played this guy on Wednesday night. This was the last game we played on Wednesday. And we played with Britta and Gordon. And Gordon snuck up and took it from you.
Yes, he did.
He did.
I jumped out to a humongous lead on this game, and he came back and beat me.
This is won by 14 points. Okay, total scores were 251 to 265, so 14 points is pretty darn close. but not close enough for his liking.
But after having like a 40-point lead.
Oh, you were completely halfway around the board from us. You had a 50-point lead at one point. But, so the way this one runs, every round starts with a Seven Wonders drafting style. You pick a card, everybody plays it down, you place your card down, and you pass the rest of your hand, but you don't pick up the rest of your hand until everybody's done playing.
Right.
So you don't know what's coming until after you've played your card.
Right.
So then one by one, everybody's playing their card and going to one of a number of different sections on the board. And each section scores completely differently. So one section scored based on how getting one of each icon. There were 4 different icons in the area. If you surrounded the one diamond or something, you got extra actions. Another area, you got points based on how many you got in a row. If you managed to get 3 or 4 of the purple cards in a row, you were exponentially upping your
Which is
your
where
number.
I got most of my points.
That's where you got a chunk of your lead, and that's where Gordon came back and beat you.
Yeah.
There was a shipping area where you can go out and you place out different things that you've shipped to get extra points, and then you could actually place on the ships. There was a lot of things going on, but at the same time, everything felt so familiar.
Yes.
And so easy. It was so intuitive once we got started. I really liked this one. Very swingy scoring. We never knew. And let me rephrase that. When the game started, we thought for sure Greg was going to take it because he jumped to a 50-point lead. And then suddenly Britta was ahead of him. And then suddenly I was ahead. And then Gordon was ahead. And then you were ahead. It bounced. It swung back and forth for 200 plus points. But anyway, very interesting game. One we're definitely going to be looking out for.
So number 9 is the first chapter, I guess, in the South Seas. South Seas of the Tigris.
Wayfarers of the South Tigris.
That's what she said.
I had to stop thinking about that one for a second. Okay, so we finally got a chance to play this. We've played some Shem Phillips games. We've not played very many of them, I'm afraid. But this is one that looked intriguing. And we played this with Matt and with Janine. Matt wanted to play it. He wanted to explore it a little further. So he sat down and he taught us how to play. And he actually won this one. Yeah. Though,
So he was a horrible teacher.
Right. Don't tell him that because he said that through the whole game.
Teachers don't win. You're supposed to make sure the other players win.
Okay. Well, had I not felt so bad through the first half of the game.
Yeah, she did.
Oh, I had a blood sugar incident, and
I had to go buy $6 in chips for 2 little bitty bags.
Yes, it was.
Prices.
It was a rough afternoon, but
you came back.
I came back, and I gained a lot of points after I came back, but unfortunately, it was too late in the game to actually take the lead away from him. So that's all right. So, Wayfarers of the South Tigris is a dice placement, dice manipulation. Well, it's a dice placement game. You do your actions by either placing out workers that are communal property. They're not yours, or placing out your dice. Those are yours. So you start the game with 3 dice. You can get 2 more throughout the game. But you are kind of in a Lost Ruins fashion. You are moving up a track where you are journaling some of the things you're doing, and that's how you're getting new dice. That's how you get the green workers are coming into play, and you're gaining other benefits. But kind of like Lost Ruins, in order to move up that track, you have to have certain things in play. You have to have so many of one icon. You have to have so many of
certain cards.
Something. Yeah. So, and that was where my frustration started coming, is because I couldn't make that work when I was having that.
I was screaming at that board.
Yeah. So, very, very interesting game, as most of his are. But honestly, before I claim this is his best one for me, I want to play it some more. This is one we are definitely on. It's on our pickup list.
This has a mechanic. This is the way I like games with dice.
Yeah. That dice placement.
It's a dice placement, but there's a way to manipulate the pips on it to be able to make it do something different than what it was originally going to be.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that in games.
Yeah. So this one's on our pickup list, so we will definitely be looking for this one as we drive home. But anyway, so that is Wayfarers of the South Tigris. Great game. Ranked number 9. But like I said, I think the only reason it ranked this low is because of the issue. I mean, for me, because we just did not quite understand it, but I definitely want to explore it some more. All right, Night Cage. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Okay.
Number
8. Number 8. We walked by this table multiple times. This was, again, in the demo area outside the dealer hall.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard of this one. Mark and Jessica have this, and they've told us about it.
From the podcast.
And it sounded really intriguing to me. The artwork on the cover is just eye-catching. Black and white, but eye-catching.
Kind of creepy.
It is kind of creepy, but I loved it. Anyway, so we finally got a chance to sit down and play this one on Friday afternoon, for like right at noon, I think. The gentleman was doing a demo and he had a couple open spots, so he let us have them, and then his other 3 people never showed up. So Matt sat down and joined us.
Well, Matt walked by and then noticed us.
Matt walked by, yeah, he did. And we had met him just the night before, so so he sat down and joined us, and then Michelle. So what Night Cage is all about? Night Cage is a cooperative game. It's a tile exploration game. I don't even want to call it tile placement. Although obviously you're placing the tiles, but you're exploring the tiles like a dungeon crawl. The difference with this one is that the tiles are falling off when you no longer can see them. Every player basically has a candle. That's your light. So you are able to see the tile you're on, and the tiles going in all 4 directions. 1 tile each direction. You're moving around trying to find keys. Every player playing the game, it's a 5-player game, has to find one of the key rooms in order to locate a key. You can't pick up 2 keys, so you can't give your key to somebody else. So 1 player, and this is what happened to us, 1 player cannot pick up more than 1. They just have to keep the key room open so somebody else can get there. Because if they move too far away from the key room, it falls off and it's gone. And now you've lost it. So as tiles come off the board, they don't get shuffled back in. They go to the discard pile. They're out of the game. So there are 6 key rooms. If you lose too many of them, game's over. And that's what happened to us, is you and I somehow got onto the other side of the board and could not get to the key rooms that Michelle and Matt kept finding, because they kept finding all of them. So super interesting game.
All we found was monsters.
We found a lot of monsters, yes.
Which is great, because once you move away from the monster and out of
It
their view,
disappears,
it
yeah.
disappears. But if you move and can't get out of the line of their sight, they're going to hit you, and they're going to take out your candle.
They blow out the candle, and then you can no longer see anything but the tile you are physically on. So the only time you're revealing a tile is when you're the tile you're moving into, and boy, don't move into a monster. But yeah, it stays that way till somebody can get next to you and light it for you. So super intriguing game. We ended up going and buying this one from the dealer hall. We just really enjoyed it that much. I definitely want to explore this one some more. So anyway, that is Night Cage. Number 7 is one you can't find here in the U.S.
Right.
But there are copies in both of the Dice Tower libraries, which is cool. That is Comic Hunters. This was produced in Brazil. It is
Everything in the game is in Brazilian.
But
they had stickers on the board that was in English that fit. It's like they had them specially made or something
I don't
to
know
cover
the I'm not sure where they got them.
English.
They had a copy of the English rules. Well, let me rephrase that. They had a printout of the English rules, which was very, very hard to follow. Luckily, somebody walked by and took pity on us and taught us how to play the game. We played this one on Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
So we played with Joe and Adam.
I think it was Joe that actually found the English
on BGG. Yeah, he found those on BGG. But we played with Joe and Adam, and like I said, another guy walked by, took pity on us, and taught us the game, which helped immensely, got us moving. But this is basically the whole game is based on collecting Marvel comic books. You're working with 8 different Marvel heroes. A number of the popular ones, Spider-Man and Hulk and Doctor Strange and And you are collecting comic books in a series of 3 rounds, so 3 days per se. And each day you are going to 3 different avenues to get books, either a store, a store, a convention, a flea market, or an auction website. And each one operates just a little differently. Very interesting. We did enjoy it. It was one we wanted to play at the retreat. We never got a chance to, so I was happy we got a chance to play it. That being said, again, a couple of friends own this. The guys from Co-operative Nerds own this one. So
this is when a lot of people said that it can't be published here because they were thinking about publishing it because the licensing with Marvel they don't have really.
Yeah.
So they would have to put generic on it. It's like, oh, well, I've never played this without the Marvel. It can be played.
I think this is...
All you're doing, you're collecting
the Marvel
icons.
Theme is simply a cover.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Because you're actually, the cards are the actual comic book covers.
Yeah, the cards are the comic book covers.
Yeah.
That being said, I've never looked at a comic book in my life. And it plays just
you're
fine.
A girl.
Whatever.
I know I'm going to get hate mail for that one, though, because there's girls that collect comic books.
But it plays based on the icons. And I think it would play just fine, Marvel fan or not. So, very interesting game. We really enjoyed it. Anyway, that was Comic Hunters.
Number 6.
Number 6.
Is what happens when I show up at your house. Right? Would you agree?
Sure.
Or am I selling myself short?
Number 6 is one we actually played twice. We learned it on Wednesday night with Dave. In the hot games room, and then this is the game that Greg ran up to go get from our room while I was teaching Matt and John and Kent Cat in the Box, and then we played this one afterwards with the same people. So this is Bad Company. Now we talked about Bad Company on our last podcast.
Jessica did.
Jessica talked about it on the last
36.
podcast, and it sounded so intriguing to us that we ended up picking it up the next day on our way to Phoenix. So this is one, the premise of this is that you are playing a gang. Out to pull off heists. So you've got an 11-member gang from 2 to 12 pulling off heists. And you are rolling, when you are the boss roller at that time, you are rolling a total of 5 dice. 1 dice operates the police car who's chasing everybody. The other dice, you get to choose which guys you're gonna do. So kind of like Can't Stop. Yep. You roll all 4 dice and then you make a set. You make 2 pairs. So if you roll 2 6s and a 4 and a 2, well, you're pretty limited then because you've got either a 12 and a 6 or an 8 and
10.
Thank you, 10. I forgot what I'd said.
Math is good.
I forgot what numbers I'd said. So anyway, so you're choosing, the boss roller is choosing what numbers he wants based on who he wants to activate on his board. And then everybody else at the table gets to activate one of those 2 numbers. They can't mix the dice up. They have to activate one of those 2 numbers. So to activate them, you're basically activating the icons on them, which could give you anything from different pieces to complete your heist. It could give you drive ability. It could give you money. So you're doing this. Meanwhile, as you're gaining money, you can pay to get new cards to add to your gang members, which make their torsos grow, which was just hysterical looking. But it gives those gang members extra abilities. So just a neat game. It's a light, fun game. Very quick to play. I don't think any game lasted more than half hour, 45 minutes, even at full player count.
No.
So yeah, super fun. I'm glad we picked it up, but like I said, we're including it on the list because we got our first play right here. We got our first play at the convention.
Yep.
Number 5 was another big surprise, and honestly, I think this was the biggest surprise of the con for me.
Yeah.
And that was Habitats. We played it in the hot games room. Thank you. On Wednesday night with Diana. This one we first heard it compared to Cascadia, and we enjoy Cascadia. So we sat down to play it, and we started reading the rules, and I'm like, this isn't Cascadia, this is Nova Luna.
Yep.
This is the exact same. If you take the animals off of this one, you've got Nova Luna.
Because all the way you get your tiles is just like Nova Luna.
Yeah.
The Cascadia part is because you're building different habitats for your animals.
Yeah. Yeah, you're building habitats for your animals. I get that. And it's an animal theme. Okay, I get that too.
But it's
not Cascadia, it's Nova Luna. We don't own Nova Luna, but we have played it once. But we really enjoyed this game. We ended up buying it. And the upgrade pack. It comes with this beautiful upgrade. Well, I shouldn't say it comes with. There is a beautiful upgrade pack available for this game. So how this one plays, there are 5 different habitats. And each animal that you pull out requires any number of combination of those habitats in order to thrive. So you could have, and I don't honestly remember any of them at the moment, but say I've got a bear and he wants grasslands and woods. Okay, so I have to put him next to, not including the one he's on, put him next to so many different grasslands and woods. But they don't have to directly touch the bear. They could stretch off of. So if I have two grasslands next to each other and the bear here, that counts because he can get access to both of them through each other. Now, if I go grassland, that doesn't work because it broke up that grassland. So that's where the Nova Luna mechanism comes in. Very interesting. I really enjoyed this. It adds in other tiles like camps. It adds in flowers with different scoring mechanisms. It adds in camps and gates and watchtowers, all with different scoring mechanisms. But there's also group goals. So each round, you play in 3 rounds, and each round you've got 2 different goals that everybody's scoring. So I don't know. I really just enjoyed this one. Like I said, I'd never even heard of it till we walked into the con. So this is definitely my biggest surprise of the con. And we actually played this one twice. We learned it on Wednesday evening with Diana, and then we played it again late Friday night with Matt. All right, so that was habitats.
Number 4. This is actually starting to become a tradition.
Can 2 be called a tradition? Yeah, why not? We're gonna make it a tradition because we can't find the game.
Yeah, this is really hard to find because the production company's out of business now. And this is Chimera Station.
Yeah. So if we can ever find a copy, it's getting bought. But in the meantime, it will be our Dice Tower, convention tradition because we're gonna play it every time we go. So this is one.
This is technically our second play of it.
This is our second play of it, so this is not our first play of it.
But we don't own it.
Right, so we included it. This is, it's one I really want to play at a higher player count. Both times we've only played it by ourselves, so I definitely want to play it at a higher player count. I feel like there's going to be a lot more player interaction at that way. So this is a tile placement game. You are placing tiles out on the board which is basically placing different modules that can be activated. You're doing worker placement to activate those modules and do the actions that they provide you. Could be taking resources, it could be just getting straight up victory points, it could be any number of things. But there are also spots around the board where you can do actions as well. Some of those actions are to get, what do they call them?
You're splicing.
You're splicing, thank you.
Other pieces
you are
onto
splicing parts of other pieces into your alien.
You're putting claws on them, you're putting tentacles on them, you're putting leaves on them, and then the brains.
And brains, giving them more brains. So each one of them does something a little bit different. You can put up to 2 on each alien that you own, and I think you start with 4 and you can get up to 6 by the end of the game. But you can't put more than 2 pieces on each alien. They can be the same, they can be different, but each one does something a little bit different. 2 is just a more powerful action than the first one. Very interesting game. I really like this one.
We've had a lot of fun with it both times we've played this.
Absolutely have. So that is Chimera Station. Lots of fun. All right. Number 3 is a game I've been super interested in for a while. We actually picked it up on our drive out to Phoenix before the con. but didn't get a chance to play it. In fact, we still haven't played our copy. This was in the hot games room, so we sat down late on Friday night to play it. Late on Thursday night.
Yes.
I'm sorry, late on Thursday night to play it. And this is Atiwa. This is a game all about bats. It's about fruit bats. But we were trying to read the rules.
We were trying to read the rules. It wasn't helping, so we plugged in our headphones and was watching a video on our phone.
Yeah.
When lo and behold, Matt shows
Matt walked
up.
by.
This is the first time we met Matt.
Yeah. So we learned it a kind of a combination between the three of us watching videos and reading the rule book.
Yep.
I'm sure the rule book is fine. It was just at that point in the evening, it was too loud for any of us to focus on it. So videos, here we come. So this is one, everybody has 3 workers to place out, and it is an worker placement game, and each round some of the actions are changing just slightly because you're counting your rounds by moving a card over that changes your actions a little bit. Throughout the game, you are using the fruit bats to get more trees, which get you more fruit, which will help you get more families into the area. Actions could include even getting extra village cards or city cards to expand your tableau, which is where you're putting all of your resources, your trees, your fruit, your bats, your families. And you've also got wild animals and goats. Thank you. Could not remember.
Can't forget the goats.
So this one, the basis of the game is that every round you can take 3 bats off your board along with a piece of fruit. The idea is that the bats have eaten the fruit and they have flown off for the night, or they fly off actually to go find the fruit. Then as they're coming home to roost, they are excreting the fruit, the seeds from the fruit.
They're pooping. They are. They're pooping. They're pooping the seeds out.
Are you 6?
Sometimes.
Whatever. Anyhow.
It's poop.
In this process, they're excreting the fruit seeds and thus basically germinating them, and they're growing more trees. Hence how, and again, in the book it tells you that a single colony of 150,000 bats can reforest a 2,000 acre plot of land in less than a year. I find that fascinating.
That's a lot of poop.
He's 6, people. I'm telling you. You see what I deal with. All right. So anyway, that is Atiwa. I thought it was a very neat worker placement game.
Yes.
And I'm looking forward to actually digging into this one more with our own copy.
And Matt said Matt's not a big Uwe Rosenberg fan, he said, and he actually liked it.
Yeah, because there's a feed your people mechanism in this one, I'm afraid.
The Uwe mechanism there.
So, but he actually enjoyed this one too. So that's high praise. Number 2. Number 2 is actually I'm tied between my favorite. My 2 top favorites. These 2 are a tie.
Yeah. I think number one's number 1 clearly for me.
And that's why number 1 is number 1 because Anyway, number 2 is Earth. This was I thought an intriguing game. Now, keep in mind, I'm a big fan of Ark Nova and Terraforming Mars, and this is right up that alley. With this one, you are building a tableau of 16 cards in a 4x4 grid, and much like the other 2 games, like Terraforming Mars and Ark Nova, you are activating those cards depending on the actions you're taking. There are 4 action spots throughout the game, and this one has that same follow mechanism that a lot of games are starting to introduce now, so nobody's ever bored because you're always doing something. So whereas the person whose turn it is gets the stronger action, everybody else gets a weaker version of that action.
Plus all the cards that you have.
Plus all the cards you have of that color, yes. So as you're building your tableau, you are activating all the cards of that color that you chose. The only difference with this one over the other 2 games is that you have to activate from the top corner, left to right, top to bottom. So you've got to be careful as to where and you don't have to place the cards as you're building them. You don't have to place them in order. You can place them anywhere in your grid. but you've just got to keep them there once you've placed them. So very interesting. Meanwhile, you are growing trees. One of the options is to grow. So you've got these little trees growing off of your cards. If I had any complaints about the game, it's that the pieces of the tree are very generic.
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of, whatever.
And easily knocked over.
They're easily knocked over, and I just think they're very generic.
Yeah.
I think they could have done a lot with that, but it comes with a million cards. So cards that are in your hand you don't want, you have the opportunity throughout the game to compost them, and they become 1 point per card. You literally just put them in your own little discard pile that you never touch again, and they are points at the end of the game. Your resources, your money is dirt. How more thematic can you get than that? There are public objectives throughout the game that you are scoring. The first person to hit that public objectives gets the higher number of points, and it just continues going down from there. There is endgame scoring cards. So there's just a lot going on, and I feel like I want to explore this one some more.
Yeah, this one, it took me a little bit of time to grasp.
Yeah.
But by the time I did, I was like, okay, but actually by the time I started grasping everything and realized, oh, wait a minute, I gotta work on this.
The game was over.
Yeah, the game was pretty much over.
You ended it, though. You're the one who ended up 16 cards.
I wanted it to end.
Oh, okay.
Because I knew I wasn't going to win, so let's not just suffer more. Let's get it over with.
Don't drag it out. So we got to play this one on Thursday morning with, Anthony and guess what? Another John.
John number 3.
This was, these guys were actually game store owners from Idaho.
Black Dragon Games.
Black Dragon Games.
From Twin Falls, Idaho.
Falls. There you go.
If you're in the area, go check them out. Tell them to say hi,
Yeah. So, all right. But that is Earth. And last but not least, can anybody guess what our number 1 was? We played number 1.
Wait a minute, they're still guessing. Yep.
Oh my God.
They're right.
Oh,
well, most of them. The guy in the back over there. No, you weren't right. No. We didn't even play that game.
Okay. Anyhow, we played this game actually 3 times during the convention. We got to play it on Thursday afternoon, twice in a row. When we finished up our first game, we played with 4 other people. And on the beginner board, the table next to us was empty at the time. The room was actually fairly empty at that time. I was kind of surprised. But the board next to us was also empty, so we went ahead and just grabbed a new board and played again. And then we ended up playing it on the very last day. It was actually one of our last games played. Yeah, it was our last game played. Back in the open games room, because Matt had a friend who had a copy with them, so we borrowed their copy and played again. We taught Matt and Jeremy and Weston how to play. Yep. So, for those of you who didn't guess, it was Heat, pedal to the metal. I am not a racing fan by any stretch of the imagination. I do not enjoy watching cars go in a circle. But he is. And we own a lot of racing games, and I do enjoy the racing games. I will give it that. I enjoy the games.
You beat me at a lot of the racing games.
Heat is very similar to Formula D, only instead of rolling dice, you are drawing cards. So I feel like it gave you a lot more control than the dice did. There was still a lot of luck aspect into it, but not as much luck as the dice had. Like any card game, like most card games, deck builders, specifically, there was that mechanism to clog your deck down. Each deck was identical. It had a number of number cards. It had a couple of boost cards in it, 3 boost cards, and it had a heat card. Heat is the enemy to the deck. Let's put it that way. That is your clogging mechanism. Everybody had access to 6 more potential heat that they could put into their deck. There was ways to mitigate it. There were ways to, if you were in first or second gear on your turn, you could take heat out of your hand. The corners are calculated a little bit differently than in Formula D. It all goes on for speed, and your speed is based on your card play. So the cards are numbered 0 to 5, and if the gear that you are sitting in, so if I'm sitting in 3rd gear going into that corner, I have to play 3 cards out of my hand. So hopefully cards that will keep me underneath the speed limit for the corner. If the speed limit is 7, then third gear might be feasible if I play a 2, a 3, and a 1. Something like that. So you can kind of gauge your speed based on the cards that are in your hand.
Yeah.
At the end of your turn, you can discard numbered cards, your speed cards. You could not discard your heat. The only way to get them out of your hand was to be in first or second gear. And you could not discard your boost cards. And what boost cards did, those were interesting. If you played 3 cards and one of them was a boost card, there's where your luck aspect came in.
Yeah.
Because now when it's your turn, you're pulling a card off the top of your deck and playing it. And one of the numbered cards, anything but the 5 and the 0.
And the 0. It had to have a speedometer on it.
Yeah.
So if you played a heat, it just went.
It just went to your discard pile. It didn't affect you at all. It was
or
one
if you
way
played,
to
like
get
you said,
out.
a 5 or a 0, it didn't count. So you had to keep pulling cards till it was.
Yeah, but
there.
if you needed it, if you were banking on a 2 and you got a 3, you might be taking heat because you slid through the corner too fast. It was just really interesting the way it played, and I've heard a lot of really good things about this game and a lot of hype. And it's a racing game. But I have to agree, it's a good one.
It was a good one, yeah.
It's a good one. So, I mean, there's ways in here to...
There's a reason why it's really hard to get.
Yeah, it's sold out everywhere. The first game we played, I actually had come in at third. I was leading going across the finish line. But by the time I finished my turn, by the time everybody else finished their turns, I was in third. Oh, well. The second game I did win. Right? Yes, I did win the second game when we played the France board, which I was super excited by. But the last game was what we call a photo finish. Oh my gosh. Jeremy thought he had it. That boy was 15 spaces beyond the finish line, and you came up and beat him by literally because
I came up and I was back some, so I said I have the heat, I'm burning the heat, I'm boosting it. It brought me up right behind me, because in this game there's a thing called slipstream. And if you come up right behind a car and you can slipstream because you're on the right side of the track, you get to move up 2 more spaces past that car.
Right in front of Jeremy.
So I ended up right in front of him and won the game.
Jeremy was robbed.
I won fair and square.
Jeremy was robbed. Sorry, Jeremy. So that was our number 1 favorite game of the con. Not the biggest surprise, because we knew about it and we knew it was supposed to be very good, but it was our favorite. And I honestly think this one played in a lot to the plays itself. And again, don't get me wrong, we enjoyed every play we did the whole week. But this is one that we were laughing so hard, especially in the last play with Matt and Weston and Jeremy, because everything was so photo finish. Even in the first 2 plays we did, there were multiple times that the cards just, you think you're going to make it, and I'm 1 space behind being able to slipstream.
Or you forget how the turns
work and take 6 heat in 1 turn.
And after getting the second turn, I have all the heat in my hand, so...
It was fun. It's a lot of fun.
Blast.
So,
really worth it.
That is everything. Super great convention. Like I said, my only con to the whole thing was having to walk through the casino. If you have any questions, put them down below. We'll be happy to answer them.
Or comments.
Questions, comments.
Except for that guy in the back that told us we was playing some strawberry shortcake game as our number 1.
Oh my goodness. Anyhow.
So, till then, we'll see you at the next one.